So let's do a deep dive into the meaning of the phrase, there's a big club and you ain't in it. I mean, it's a really popular thing to reference, is it not? And everybody agrees. If you want to, it's like that Henry Rollins song where it's called Liar. This Henry Rollins song, it's called Liar. And there's a line in the song where he's like, I'll tell you things that you already know, so you can say, I really identify with you so much. So this line is a thing that if I want to cast a wide net and get a lot of people to agree with me, all I have to do is say, there's a big club and you ain't in it. Ooh, that's so profound, right? Wow. It just wows the audience. Everybody's just like, wow. That's so true. Everybody applaud. I really identify with you so much. Okay. So, but let's really think about it. So this video is, since it's so great, it's such a great phrase. There's a big club and you ain't in it, that everybody just agrees with. Let's explore this. So there's a big club and you ain't in it, right? And you identify with that so much. So here we go. Here's the big club, right? Up at the top. This is the big club. And you're down in here. So you aren't in the big club, right? Right? Okay, we'll call them the ruling class. The ruling class. Okay, class? So there's a big club, the ruling class, and you're down here, so you aren't in it, right? And everybody just identifies with that so much, like, oh man, that is so fucking true. Holy shit. I can't believe that is unbelievably profound what you're saying. Yeah, but then there's another club below this club. There's this club. But see, this club isn't in this club. But if you're down in here, well, you're not part of this club either. And we'll call this club the upper class. The upper class. So now there's two clubs. Well, there's three. Well, no, there's all of you. You're not in it. Well, then there's the upper class. But they're not in the big club. They're in a smaller club. It's still a big club, but it's not as big as this one, but it's still a big one compared to you. So now there's two clubs. There's two big clubs that you're not in. This one's called the upper class. This one's called the ruling class. Okay? So there's a big club and you aren't in it, right? And everybody's like, wow, that is so profound. Oh my God, that is unbelievable. Well, then there's another club. Now you might be in this club, and we'll call this club the middle class. Okay? So now you got three big clubs. There's the ruling class. That's the big club that you aren't in. Then there's the upper class. It's a smaller club, but it's still big. Well, and you're probably not in that one either. Well, then there's another club called the middle class, and you might actually be in this club. But the problem is, if you're in the middle class club, and then George Carlin over here says there's a big club and you ain't in it, and all of you middle class people are like, yeah, that's right. We're victims of the ruling class. We're victims of the capstone, those evil capstone. But you are in a club as well. And aren't there people that the middle class exclude from their club? Aren't there people that the middle class exclude from their club? And then the upper class excludes the middle class from their club. Right? And if that isn't complicated enough, and of course everybody's like, oh yes, that is, oh my gosh, everybody clap. I really identify with you so much. There's a big club and I ain't in it. Yeah. Well, then you got the lower class. So now you've got another club, the lower class. So the middle class is a big club that the lower class isn't in. And the middle class club is a club that beats the lower class. And the upper class is another club that beats the middle class. And then the ruling class is the capstone club that beats everybody. And if that weren't complicated enough, then you have the underclass. So when we say there's a big club and you ain't in it, which club are we referring to? And who are you? Who are you? Where are you? Because there is so if you're the underclass, well, yeah, there is a very big club that you aren't in. I mean, this club is like, wow. Like, if you're part of the underclass, and there's a big club that you aren't in. You see how big that club is? And you see how fucking it's just crushing you. But see, so when George Carlin says there's a big club and you ain't in it, you got all these other clubs that are like, yeah, they're all applauding. Yeah, all right, George Carlin, yeah. Oh, I really identify with you so much. There's a big club, and depending on who you aren't in it. Now, when we're talking about the big club, who is most victimized by the big club? Who is being oppressed and suppressed or crushed under the boot of tyranny? Which one is suffering the most? Well, it's really obvious. It's this one down here. But how often is the underclass even included at all in any public discourse at all? Let me illustrate one of the main core elements of the underclass. Now, this might come across as backwards in the video, but I think you'll still get the point. So, who is most oppressed by this big club? I don't know if you can read that. If you can't, it says homeless. That's one of the biggest components of the underclass in the United States of America. So if there's a big club and you ain't in it, where are you? And so you're being crushed under the boot of tyranny, right? This big club are tyrants that have their boot firmly planted on your neck. But so you're a victim of the big club, right? It's a big club and you aren't in it. Yeah, but who suffers the most from the big club? And I guess that depends on which big club are you talking about, because the middle class is a big club that the homeless and the underclass aren't part of. There's a big club here, and if you're down here, you ain't in it. You ain't in that middle class club, are you? And you think that these people care about these people down here? Generally speaking. So when George Carlin says there's a big club and you ain't in it, and you got this audience right here, and they're like, yeah, that's right, George Carlin, you preach, George Carlin, preach. Well, how are these people any different to the underclass than the capstone is to the middle class? It is no different. It's the exact same thing. The ruling class ignores the middle class, but the middle class ignores the underclass. So like, if you want to reference George Carlin's phrase, there's a big club and you ain't in it, how self-aware are you as to what that actually means? Or do you just mindlessly throw it out there in defense of your argument about whatever it is? That you are somehow oppressed, that you are being negatively impacted by the big club that you ain't in. Well, who's most negatively impacted by the big club that you ain't in? Who? Is it you? Or other people that are suffering more under the boot of the big club? And if so, are they included in the public discourse? Or is that an issue that is being talked about? Because everybody cares about the big club, right? Everybody's always pointing, there's a big club. Those evil people, they're the big club. But aren't there people that are being excluded from this discussion on the big club and actually ignored? What is the rationalization for this? If you are against the big club, then how do you rationalize that these people down here are completely ignored? They're like totally ignored from all public discourse, no matter what it is. These people down here are completely ignored, but yet you care about this big club. Why do you care about this big club? Of how it affects you personally or how it affects people generally? And if you say you're concerned about people in general, then why aren't you standing up for these people? Why are you participating in ignoring these people down here while you go on and on about this big club? You know, that Bill Gates is in and all the masters, Bill Gates and Trump and Kamala, they're all part of one big club. Well, what about the people that are most negatively impacted by the big club? How come you're not talking about that? Shouldn't that be prioritized over how it negatively impacts the middle class? Well, yeah. Logic would conclude that yes, those most negatively impacted by the big club should be first. That should be the first thing to discuss, not tabled for later once we take care of the darling middle class. So all that has become is a cope. What George Carlin was talking about when he was talking about the big club, people are just abusing that and using it as a cope to continue rationalizing, ignoring those people that are most negatively impacted by the big club. There's more than one big club as illustrated in this thing. And so just keep ignoring this. Just keep ignoring this and then wondering why it is that everything is getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.